All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Greg Chen, and welcome to our Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 edition of the Avid Audio Community Plugin. Wherever you might be in the world, thank you so much for joining us. I see that folks are still coming in, so come on in. We're going to have a great hour today. Wherever in the world you might be, welcome. Hope everyone's staying safe. We're going to have a great one today. Really looking forward to our guests. We're going to be talking about Pro Tools Carbon. So we launched Carbon a few months ago. It's been doing really well. There's still so many questions around what Carbon is and what it might mean for some of you. So we've decided that today what we wanted to do is actually have some of our users do the talking, but not just any users. We wanted to reach out to some of our early adopters, so to speak, and we're going to learn more about that. So we've got two really amazing guests today. Both from the West Coast. So we're going to the West Coast of the US. We've got Sam Pura, owner, really amazing engineer and producer who owns the Panda Studios over in the Bay Area. And we've got legendary producer, engineer, Mr. Jean-Marie Horvat, based in Southern California. Now, they're both with us. They're going to be talking to us. We'll invite them in just a minute. But before we do, again, welcome wherever you might be. We're live here. We're kind of manage this all via our Zoom. But of course, if you're, we're streaming this across all of our major streaming platforms. So whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you might be, we actually have some of our amazing global audio specialist team there to take your questions. So we'll make sure we do have a Q&A section towards the end of the hour, and we'll do our very best to get to all of your questions. But before we jump into it, let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into it. So first up, let's talk about how to get the best out of the webinar. So we always recommend, if at all possible, that you pre-register for the webinar. That gets you here in the room, so to speak, in the Zoom room, where it's a little bit easier to manage things like questions and Q&A and such. So for this little section, if you're here in Zoom, we're going to be doing this a couple different ways. So we have two guests. We have Sam and Jean-Marie and myself. I'll be moderating and kind of hosting. You're probably going to want to leave that in gallery view. So if it's just one person, so if Sam or Jean-Marie might be sharing their screen at that point, you might want to go in and have it be speaker view so that you can actually see a little bit better. But when it's all three of us talking, you might want to go ahead and have gallery view enabled here in Zoom. Additionally, since we have a decent amount of folks here, you might see a bunch of black boxes with names. If you want to hide that, all you need to do is just click the little three dots directly to the right of your mute button, and you can select hide non-video participants, and that'll, whoever's on camera, that'll be who's on your screen. So that makes it a little bit easier. You get some real estate on your monitor back. Additionally, like I mentioned, we do have a Q&A section at the end of the hour, about the last 15 minutes or so. If you want to ask a question, if you're here in the Zoom, we have the Q&A button. You just click it, go ahead and type your question. Please give us your name, your location, whatever pertinent info. Your question is detailed as you'd like it to be, and we'll do our very best to get to that. Now, we do have some folks here in the room, in the Zoom room as well. We've got Gil Gowing, Jeff Komar, and Dave Tyler, three of our amazing specialists. They're going to be covering and kind of moderating that. So we'll answer your questions as we go along, but of course we'll queue a bunch of them up, stuff for Sam and Jean-Marie and myself and the team in general. And again, we'll get to that about quarter till the hour. So I think that's about it. Oh, of course, if you're on one of our other platforms, you feel free to, again, ask questions there. Team is there. They can collect those questions and funnel them over to us, and we'll do our very best to answer them as quickly as possible. We'll get to as many as we can. So without further ado, again, today we're talking about Pro Tools Carbon, and we wanted to invite a couple of our friends, some really great, well-respected, beloved engineers and producers. We've got Sam Pura and Jean-Marie Horvat. Now, it's interesting because, like we said, we're calling this the Pro Tools Early Adopters webinar. Pro Tools Carbon is something that's a little bit new for us. Of course, we have an incredible team here that created Carbon, and it's been doing really well. But I think it's important that folks know that as a company, we don't do this on our own, so to speak. For us, it's really important to get our users' feedback, the folks who are going to be using this stuff every single day. And Sam and Jean-Marie both came in at little different times, but they were both instrumental, no pun intended, in what Carbon is. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and welcome and ask Sam and Jean-Marie to go ahead and turn their cameras on. You can unmute your mics and welcome, guys. How are you guys
Hey,
doing?
what's up?
Hey, hey.
What's good? What's good?
Oh, you're good. That's what's up. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share so we can see your beautiful faces and where you are. If my mouse would just kind of cooperate. There we go. That's more like it. So, Sam, Jean-Marie, welcome. So most of us know, we all know who you guys are, and, all of us who are, lovers of music of all genres. And we were kind of joking in one of our meetings that some of us are liner note junkies. I know, Sam, I am, you are. I mean, I think we all are pretty much.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of folks who are kind of newer to their journey. They're just learning their way around music and how to create music and what that means for them. So for those who may not know who you are, I figured I'd give you guys a few minutes to introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about how you came up, what you're doing now, what you're working on, what you have worked on. And we'll kick it off with Jean-Marie. We'll start with you.
Okay. Hey, y'all. How you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. I'm Jean-Marie Horvat. I've been mixing, producing, engineering for quite some time. I'm going to leave the years out of it. But I started out with Teddy Riley, gave me my first shot. And I've been working and producing. The most recent thing that I've been producing right now is country trap stuff. So that's going to come out soon. But people know me as a mixer, but I came out of my shell, as they would say, as a producer for a song called Power Glide for Ray Shrimmer. And just here with my man Sam here.
Awesome. Well, Jean-Marie, welcome. We're stoked to have you here, man. Thank you for that. And yeah, with that, we'll turn it over to Sam. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, what's up? I am Sam Pura. I am the owner and a chief audio engineer here at the Panda Studios. I basically created this around 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago now. It's the only thing I've ever done in my life. But essentially born and raised in the Bay Area of California. Grew up playing in a lot of hardcore and punk bands, and transitioned to making lots of punk and rock records for lots of international touring acts, and things are great. I love working with Pro Tools, and I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. It's great to have you. Yeah, you both have some pretty legendary status in a lot of the stuff you've worked on. I just got to check out some of the work you did with 100th, Sam, which I thought was incredible. So the first time I got to check that out. So really, really amazing work. Jean-Marie, I've known your work for a very long time. And I'll tell a quick story. So, when we were all traveling quite a bit, I would find myself, I'm based in Miami, but I would find myself in California quite a bit, several times a year. We had a studio and we do have an office in the Burbank area. One day I was actually there with some of the team. I think Gil might've been there as well. And one of the guys in the studio comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, that Jean-Marie Horvat is mixing like 2 doors down." I'm like, "Here in this building, like right now?" And I got like a little bit giddy. And they took me over to introduce me to Jam, and you were just the coolest dude. The first thing you did was talk to me and yelled at me for something, and then you just totally said, "No, you were just kidding." You're totally awesome, and I love that about you. But yeah, really great to have you guys here. We're going to talk about Carbon, but before we get to Carbon, you guys just introduced yourselves. I thought it might be a little important for folks to understand a little bit about your workflows, and what's important to you. Maybe we'll start with Sam. When you're approaching, you're a musician as well, right? So, but when you're approaching things as a producer or as an engineer, as a mixer, what's important for you? Like, what are the things that you walk into the room and you're ready to approach a project? What are some things that are on your mind to kind of achieve or get to?
I think the biggest thing that I really focus on at all times is signal flow, and like walking in and being able to actually know exactly how I'm going to attack all of my pieces of gear that I have around me, and actually utilize that to create some sort of euphoric sonic platform that I'm going to want to live inside of for weeks of my life, and focus on actually just like funneling everything into Pro Tools and using that DAW as my way of completely organizing all of my regions and everything to make sure that what comes out of the speakers is the music, is what I want to be listening to and working with. So it's really important about like just how I'm going to get in and out of Pro Tools, especially because I mix with lots of hardware. I'm tracking with lots of hardware as I'm working, and it's how to make a really flexible environment that actually complements the sources and the music each day.
Awesome, love that. How about you, Jean-Marie? Getting into a project.
With me, it's a little bit like Sam was saying. I love flexibility and I like simplicity. I like to hit it and quit it, as they would say. I like stuff surrounding me, you know what I'm saying? I like my instruments around me, even in our COVID studio versus the one in Burbank. It's the same thing. It's like I got to be surrounded by music, but also the simplicity of if I want to grab something, if I want to add something into the mix that maybe the producer might like as a mixer. And as a producer, Sam will tell you, we're always constantly working. Greg, I think you got a couple pieces of gear back there, so it's yeah, but I think it's the simplicity of what I look after and the flexibility, because in the beginning, I always thought I have to do it this way, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the engineer hat, and I think working with someone of the likes of Teddy Riley and other producers like Rodney and Brian Michael Cox through the years, I find that the simplicity and the flexibility is where it needs to go. You don't have to think, you just have to do and feel. I think music should be felt. It doesn't have to sound great. It has to feel right. You know what I'm saying? Does the mix feel right? And that's what I look after.
Awesome. Love that. So we'll kind of jump right into it. So you guys are both, obviously very, very passionate about, the work you do. It clearly shows in the results that we've all, had many opportunities to hear that live out in the real world. But, kind of going into now, let's just jump into the Carbon part. I see there's already some great questions coming in. We'll make sure we get to some of those, as many of those as possible. But you guys are the star of the show, but we have a special feature, I would say, with Carbon. So again, I mentioned it earlier that when we started creating Carbon, we have a really great team led by Kyle here at Avid and a bunch of the product owners and product managers and engineers that work on this stuff. We wanted to make sure. I mean, most of us are musicians and producers ourselves here, and I think that's important for folks to know. But we work here, and we know that we have a certain idea of what the thing needs to be. But we wanted to make sure that we were really grabbing the ears, hearts, and minds of folks who are users that are working with stuff every day. Sam, I know that Kyle reached out to you really early on, and you jumped at from what I understand. I wasn't around for that, but as I understand it, you were quite excited by the idea of collaborating with us on this. Why's that?
Yeah, so it's actually a fun story because I went to audio school with Kyle. So I know Kyle from audio school, and so I know I've seen him work his way up through Avid into becoming the lead product designer of this entire operation. And so he came here and hung out one day. It was like, and it was like, I want to tell you more, and I'm going to get you involved. But he was like, I'm really excited because I'm basically designing and building a product that is meant for you and your studio. And I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, sure, tell me more. And so eventually, he brought me on, and it's literally exactly designed for this place. And I think the best example of that is how I interface this and use it in my second studio right next door to me. So essentially, I have two control rooms here. I have two live rooms, and if I want to duplicate my setup and make like the easiest go-to production room with all my synths out there and drums set up and everything ready to go, so I could just walk in there day one with the band and say, show me your demo, and import it into Pro Tools and say, okay, I got MIDI drums, I got my MIDI sequencers, I got everything. And now with also the amazing new feature of audio drag to drop with MIDI, and you can convert that. It's amazing. So, anyways, like, let's talk about what I need to make that happen. So I need Pro Tools, I need a computer. Most importantly, I need an interface. I need ins and outs. I'm gonna need 16 ins because I'm gonna be recording drums. Also, then I need a monitor controller. So do I wanna get some clunky thing on my desk and have like a big knob or something? And all of that is inside of the Carbon, you know? And even further with that, there's TalkBack and the 4 headphone outs. I have everything I need to patch audio to anywhere and just start making my record today. Everything I need right there. So it's the centerpiece of that room, and it's just how it's beautiful. It's designed completely for that room, and we're using it exactly how it's designed, and it's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I like the fact that you kind of allude that, not allude, but you basically say it's everything kind of there, you know. So, and I want to apologize because I basically assumed that everyone knows what Pro Tools Carbon is. So just very quickly, in case there's anyone who's in the room who is not really, you know, kind of aware of what it is, it's back in November we launched. It's a brand new hybrid production system. It's an audio interface, really great I/O complement with 8 DSP chips. So if you're familiar with our HDX digital signal processing cards, this takes 8 of those chips from that card and has them in the box. And you're able to actually leverage that a bit in something we call the hybrid engine inside of Pro Tools. So it's really a complement of native processing and DSP processing. So if you're doing things like tracking, you want to track with very low latency, which someone had asked about. Is there latency? Well, technically, it's very, very, very low latency. So I've answered that one. We can get into that one a little bit later, but you can leverage those DSP chips. So whereas an HDX DSP card will have 18 chips, Carbon's got 8. Really great for tracking, things of that nature. As Sam just kind of said, everything in one box. So apologies if I assumed that everybody knew what that was. So there it is. So Sam, thank you for that. So Jean-Marie, you got involved a little later. And basically, you just got on the phone, being who you are. You just give on the phone and said, "Hey guys, I heard about this thing. I want in." You can flesh that story out a little bit more. I'm kind of just gave the short version, but tell us a little bit about why how you found out, or why you wanted to be involved, and what that meant for you.
What had happened was I heard about this box, and obviously this was the year that I said, you know what, let's we've been working inside, organized chaos, I call this little place, because I got the kids, I got everything, I got every freaking thing going on, right? And I said, I want to get a new setup, right? And I was just hearing about, the rumors, like the rumors. So I reached out to Kyle and I said, hey man, I heard about this box, man. I want to check it out. And he was nice enough to send it out. And just to capitalize what Sam was saying, I mean, in layman's term, this is everything that you would want right in front of you, like just exactly what Sam said. I mean, you have the talkback right there if you choose to, but as a mixer and as somebody that's a soundsmith in some ways, right? You have the ability to hit these buttons, which is sexy as hell, that can go from 3 different monitor sections if you want to, if you choose to. The 4 headphone outs is like, because I'm getting into more live recordings. I mean, come on. I mean, this is like ridiculous. Go in, go out. I could do drums in the living room if I want to, or I could do drums outside if I want to. We're at that point right now. And I think Carbon made it so simple. The touch faction of everything is amazing. Very intuitive. Like if you want to go out of, say if you want to try to go as spreading it out in a summing thing, your monitor outs goes into stun mode automatically. I mean, it's a plug and play moment. And I mean, it's a very, very interesting box. But to me, going back to what I said, the flexibility and the simplicity, but also the tone. I was on the phone with a buddy of mine and I was switching to do an A/B test. and he heard the test over the freaking phone.
Oh,
The low end faction was amazing. It was very focused. It was very round, and compared to the other IOs. So I'm a tinkerer. I'm a doubting Thomas, as they would say. So I had the old Knobney hooked up. I had that other thing hooked up, and it's night and day difference. The clarity off the top end is amazing. The mid range is not screeching at your ears. If anybody knows about the DAWs, sometimes it's that annoyancy of that mid-range frequency. And I'm not going to go to detail because I'm not that type of dude, but you can just hear it, and it just everything's smoothed out. And we'll get to what I'm talking about because I told you the story that I got in trouble with the record company because of this box. This box got me in trouble, but the hell with it. I just did it. So when Kyle sent it, and I've been corresponding with Kyle like once in a while because I'm so in tune. It's part of my setup. It's like drinking a cup of coffee. Okay, good morning, Carbon. Let's go to work. And it's like so easy to work in, and it's so and ear fatigue sets in all the time. Mm-hmm. My ear breaks are not as frequent and not as long because I'm trying to get to it because it's very streamlined, but it's also easy on the ears. But I can attack it. I can really attack it.
That's awesome. So I definitely want to come back to that story. I think it's great. You shared with me that story a couple of weeks ago, and you kind of gave me the AB idea, and really the mix. Again, this is something that was already done in the can, and really sonically changed after you kind of pushed stuff through Carbon. So we'll come back to that story in a second. I wanted to come back to Sam for just a minute and talk about, we kind of mentioned that, the whole early adopter thing. And, Sam, I think you were the second one, one of the first people to ever get their hands on a prototype unit. And you were with us. I mean, you stayed the entire length of the beta period, which we're so thankful and grateful to you for. What did it mean to you? Obviously, you've got a friendship and a relationship with Kyle, which is awesome. But outside of that, I mean, you were working with the rest of the engineering team and getting your feedback in. What did that mean to you as someone who is, again, using gear every single day, to be able to have that voice and know that, I hopefully you feel that you were listened to and your voice was heard, and that we were able to take that information and work with it for the box.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because I've always used Pro Tools my entire career. I mean, day one of starting audio production, I learned Pro Tools. So I have a nostalgic relationship to the 002 and the 001 series. That's how I got into Pro Tools. And I remember fondly buying my first TDM system, an HD2 system, and spending the most amount of money that I had ever spent in my life to put myself up into the tier of using the best system, and to ride into the process of helping see Carbon actually like eliminate the tiers between home audio consumer and pro, and actually create the 002 of the future that is taking full advantage of all the best pro features and completely covering all of the consumer needs, like down to the headphone outs and stuff. It's really cool. And I think it's like the coolest thing that's happening with Avid right now. And it's also really cool that like getting to, work and interact with the people inside who are all like passionate engineers who actually are educated people who have been in the industry and make content and continue to make content. They're not just business people. And allegedly from like what I've heard is like the CEO that you guys have currently like also used to once be like a 002 user or something, and like also like completely understands audio and like really has a good relationship and like wants to help build the brand and to seeing that everyone's feature requests and things are actually put out as soon as possible. And it's I think it's the most exciting time that Pro Tools is having, and my updates continue to get better and better, and my system runs more stable than it ever has, as opposed to like a new clunky update making everything go haywire. Like it actually continues to improve my workflow, and it's been awesome. And we're still working on the Carbon with beta processing, and it's a process that I'm excited to be a part of, and it's really cool, and it's I'm just excited. I think you guys are doing great stuff, and it's really cool to see and be a part of.
No, appreciate that. We couldn't do it without you. I will ask, and then I want to jump back over to Jean-Marie. Kind of fast forward now. Carbon is out. Like you said, we continue to make improvements, and you're both a big part of that. You both are still sending feedback and stuff in. You're on the beta, and we appreciate that. We can't do it alone, so we really appreciate your guys' help on that. But fast forward now that now it's out, it's in the real world, and other folks are jumping in and using it, which is great to see and great to hear. But what does it mean for you in your situation, in your work situation right now? I know you both kind of inferred a little bit. Actually, Sam, you kind of told us you're at the studio now. You're right now, right? You're at the Panda Studios right now.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in my West control room.
Yeah. So tell us, just kind of go over again really quickly how Carbon's being used in your daily workflow right now.
So, all right, in my current West control room that I'm in, I run an HD native system, and I have two Avid 16 IOs. So I'm running 32 ins, 32 outs. And then I have, I have my hardware bus comp running on mixes at all times. And I'm patching in, I have things set up to record drums at all times and guitars at all times. So everything is patchable and ready to go. And then in the East control room, which we call it, that's where I have the Carbon setup in there. And so I use the 8 onboard preamps, and then I also use 8 of the original Digi 8 preamps, which are MIDI controlled. So it's very nice to still be able to use the controls on those to set and forget those and recall them per sessions, etc. So that's set up there. And we basically just do a lot of vocal tracking, a lot of like pre-production drums or like drums for some hardcore bands and stuff like that. Lots of keyboards in that room. And then in my main room here, I'm basically running and mixing down most of my hardware gear in this room, and using that heavy IO to get it in and out there. But I have a Rosetta 800 setup, so I can take advantage of the extra 8 ins. So I have the 8 onboard preamps and the 8 lines through the Rosetta, and just using the line outs to patch some things for reamping and for like running through some of the synths and back end. So yeah, trying to take advantage of all those. Also, the 4 headphone outs are just a patch right out and into whatever room and assign them and have them ready to go through there. So it's very nice to have the multi headphone out, because I have the Behringer power play system in my room here, but like that's the whole thing, is like, you put it all together. It's like, you need your monitor controller, you need your headphone system, then you're going to need some sort of like microphone, like talkback scenario, like on top of the fact that you're going to need like extra line outs for your reamps and or anything else like that. So the fact that all that's taken care of on the Carbon is awesome. Like it works fantastic.
Man, I need to hire you guys to come join our marketing team. Just kidding. Keep doing what you're doing, because we love what you guys do. So
I'm available anytime for it.
Thank you, Sam. So, Jean-Marie, right now you're working. You're not in your normal room. With the pandemic and obviously Southern California. I think California in general is kind of locked down. I don't even know what's locked down and what's not anymore. But you found yourself. Sorry.
Purple. We're in Prince land. Everything's
okay.
Purple.
You're purple level.
Yeah.
Same with me. I'm in purple.
There it is.
we're all in purple, I guess. Talk to us about how you're and if you're cool with it, if you're cool to share the story, I'd love to. I think everyone would love to hear that story about how you got in trouble. Jean-Marie Horvat never gets in trouble, guys. But
oh no, not at
tell
all.
us a little bit about how you're working today, like right now. So you are actually using Carbon. It is not just lip service. You're using it every day at this point.
I'm using it every single day. I do a go-betweens of a lot of things, but which we'll get into. But I use it every single day, either for testing or tweaking or giving notes. I use it every single day. It's just it's easy, man. It's just like, I mean, I can't explain it. I mean, the genius about this box is that I can go and bring in my knees if I want to, because it's only 8 in and 8 out, but there's more abilities. It expands a little bit more if you really, really want to get into detail. But if you really want to just go quick, I can put it in 4 of my knees and 4 of my distressors if I want to go with outside hardware. At the house right now is I'm actually, I hate to say it, I'm actually bringing a lot of stuff from the Burbank studio, the North Hollywood studio, to the house because I find it more comfortable because I'm by the kids, and I can get away with it a little bit. It actually, there's something about as you get older, you don't have to just jump around a little bit. You can sit in one spot and go outside and have a conversation, with your better half or with the kids or whatever have you. But it also puts you in a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? So allowing me to plug and play or plug and fix or getting like the keyboards, if I want to bring my analog stuff, the Wurlitzer or the amplifiers, I can get into it real quick, man. It's really, really interesting how if you keep it simple, you manifest greatness. You know what I'm saying? And perfection has no time limit. I always say that perfection has no time limit. This cuts my time in half to get to the end goal. You know what I'm saying? So working with Carbon and just working like right here, right now, I wish I had this 7 months ago. Literally, I wish I had this back in April or May. Now I've been on this thing since December, or was it December? I think. Right?
We launched in November. So yeah.
I got it at the
right around
stages.
Launch. Right.
Look, man. Here's one thing I have to say. Whatever Kyle and his illustrious team's doing it, he's doing it for the musicians. He's doing it for the audio people. It's like you can, I heard rumors about cascading it to make it go to Atmos and posting it like that. But we actually got something, for us, what I'm saying, as audio guys, for us. And this is like our version of us. This is like buying a brand new guitar. I'm like, it's like, oh, and the tone, oh my God, it's amazing. So my everyday faction with this thing is I look forward to coming into my little room. I don't have any anxiety. You know what I'm saying? How does the mix sound? Especially what happened in, with Robin Thicke's project, which I would love to get in with you. And also because I'm a little bit of a wackadoo, I work in all formats when I mix. Yeah, just a little bit, people say, oh, you mix in Pro Tools. I mix in Pro Tools. I mix in Cubase. I mix in Logic, because there is, you want to keep the people satisfied. You want to keep your client satisfied. You know what I'm saying? This friggin' thing let me work in all 3 formats at the same time.
I love the fact that you mentioned that. I think, obviously, this is an Avid audio community plugin, and people think that, tell us a little bit about that. So, I think it's important that folks do know that although, it's a really amazing hybrid production system, but it just on its own, if you take the DSP out of it, it's a really, in my opinion, an amazing audio interface that you can use with anything, right? So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because that's one of the things you've been very vocal about, and we love you for it.
Yeah,
you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I will tell you a little bit about it. So, a lot of people produce in Logic and then bring it over to Pro Tools. But sometimes, some of my clientele does not know how to do that. I can have the ability to do that for them. In the case of the Robin Thicke project, Robin had a specific sound that he was trying to go for, and he works in a certain way. And I didn't want to mess with his feng shui. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to keep him happy. And this is the main reason why I got into this, because they say, yo, it does all cross formats. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, it goes all cross formats. I was talking to Mishka about it. And he goes, well, I'm all right, let me go check it out. And I'm telling you, man, I was using a different box. And then when I got to do it, I started hearing imperfections in my mix. And I was in Cubase. And then I was working on Trey Songz' record. I had to redo those mixes. They were pissed because I was really adamant, because the kick drum wasn't gully enough. It wasn't smacking hard enough. I said, man, why does that sound so weak? And I thought it was my speakers, or it was me, or if I was going deaf. and I A/B'd it. It sounded good in one box, but when I went to Carbon, I went, well, I could fix that real quick. So I had to basically fix 22 mixes on Trey Songz's record and 11 mixes on Robin Thicke. Now Trey was done on Pro Tools. Robin was done between Logic and Cubase. And I'm doing it simultaneously, dude. that's the craziest thing. Because I can use that for here. You know how us brainiacs like, yo, this feels good here. Let me see if it's gonna work in this one on this one particular song. And a lot of times it did. A lot of times it didn't, but it made me actually rethink that there's something sexy about this box. That, look, it's the interface, but if you can gravitate to that interface and go for the extra 10, the extra yardage to get it to sound like, yo, did you hear Jean's mix? That's what I want. Or did you hear that production? How did you get that? It's what you hear. You know what I'm saying? It's like what comes out of the speakers that's really giving you the institution of what you want to do for that particular song. And in my philosophy, it got to feel right. And it didn't feel right at that time until I went to Carbon. And Kyle, I was saying, dude, I was praising Kyle, like, I think for about 3 weeks.
Well, we got to make sure. We'll make sure Kyle sees this entire thing. So
Kyle's the man, dude. He's the man.
Oh, yeah, Kyle's awesome. We had him on our Carbon launch webinar, and he was great. Answered a lot of questions. So I did want to mention, since you're talking about using it with other DAWs and such, that's one of the reasons why we're using AVB. Someone asked, we'll definitely dive into that question a little bit more, but that's one of the reasons we decided to leverage AVB for the unit, partially so that we can have a driver that, we have part of it that is specifically dedicated to Pro Tools, but then we've got, an IO section, part of the driver that is available to anything, whether you're using iTunes, another DAW, and you can leverage it there. So I thought that was important to mention. Jean-Marie, you looked like you wanted to say something additionally, or?
Yeah. See, so when I got the box, my buddy Gil was talking me through this because it was so freaking simple. I'm trying to tell you, it's so freaking simple. Sam, am I right? It's so simple. You plug and play. I mean, it's the simplest thing I've ever seen in my life. No front, none of that. Do this, do that. It was simple. You go to the Ethernet cable. Sam, jump in, please. You go with the Ethernet cable to the, it's simple. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the big key term that like I think when describing Carbon is it really is a turnkey solution for a modern production interface. Everything you need, and also like the fact that Jean-Marie could use it in so many different DAWs is pretty awesome too. Like especially because like I got a lot of freelancers that like to use my side room, and like a lot of them prefer Logic, a lot of them prefer Cubase as well. So to have that flexibility is also just it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And also like you said too about setting it up, like I was really surprised how easy it was to set up because it's the first Avid interface I think that I'm ever aware of that actually utilizes the audio MIDI platform in a computer. So that was like that made it so confusing that it's already ready to go. Like I don't need to do like I just choose my hardware playback engine and it's ready to go, as opposed to so that was I guess I could see how that might be confusing for some, but it made it so awkwardly easy that it is funny how easy that was.
I appreciate you both saying that. I think that's one of the things that we find, certainly when we're talking to folks who are interested in Carbon, why AVB, why not Dante? And, I think you guys just kind of answered it. So certainly ease of use is such a big one, but flexibility is another one. I would say that, I know that a lot of folks are confused, or at least we're a little bit wary. Most folks are used to USB, Thunderbolt. Those are the ways that they're used to, having their interfaces connected. And certainly at this point, in this price point, you get a little bit of, the professionals that, they understand what's kind of going on for the most part. And then you have the folks who are, semi-pro or, individuals who are looking to get into this, kind of a more professional space. And it can be a little scary, but AVB is nothing to be afraid of. It is our first AVB audio interface on this side of the business. We've been leveraging AVB on the live sound side, on the venue SXL side for a while. So it made a lot of sense to us to be able to kind of continue leveraging what we've learned there. One of the big things on the live sound side is that, not only is it robust, it's extremely stable, very high bandwidth, and it just, very easy for us to work with. So we felt that was a really good mix and a really good idea to bring that over to this side of things as well. So I hope that answers. I'll mention who asked the question, and if we want to expand on that, we can certainly do that. Before we jump into the Q&A though, Sam, I wonder if you might want to share your screen, just show us what, so we've been talking about the hardware. Obviously, the hybrid engine in Pro Tools is a big part of what makes Carbon so special, specifically when using Pro Tools. So low latency, you're able, the ability to leverage DSP plugins if you're tracking. Do you want to show us a quick screen share of what a Sam Pura session looks like?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So I don't have the Carbon hooked up on this side, unfortunately, but this is one of my sessions here, and this is pretty much how I track. So everything is like always set up on a template. So like, let's say, for example, if I wanted to record a vocal, I would just assign my input. And then what's cool about Carbon, which would be the cool thing to demonstrate if I had it set up right now, would be once you have it on input, you could then click on the DSP mode, and the auto tune and the Pro Q would still be activated, and any of the things that are inside of the signal chain would all be made low latency, essentially, and take use of the DSP chips. And I saw one question pop up, which someone asked about how loud the Carbon is. And it's funny because I remember like reading a few things of people being like, how's the fan noise on that? And I'm like, I've never even realized that there's fans on it. Like, it's so beautifully designed, the way that the fans are implicated in there. And it's really like I had to like look at it and like listen and be like, is there a fan on here? Like, it is surprisingly quiet.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Sam. And thank you for the screen share. So yeah, quick example of what that looks like. So, guys, any last bits before we jump into some of these questions? Any last bits or little sound bites you wanted to share about Carbon or your usage and what that means to and for you? I'll open it to either one of you. You don't have to, and just if you wanted to. All right, I think we can jump right. Oh, sorry, go ahead,
I
John.
want to say something. Well, someone was asking a question about how loud it is in the control room. Is that was one of the questions, right?
Yeah.
It's not loud at all. I mean, it's quiet. I can't even hear it. It doesn't do any of that. I gotta say, man, it's a well-made box. I mean, you guys really thought about, or somebody came up with the idea, what would be best for the home producer, even on the economical sense. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The economical sense is for me, because we have young entrepreneurs coming into our business every single day. You know what I'm saying? And so they go to different things to achieve their goal. And one of the things I was talking to an engineer friends of mine from New York, Taekwon and Don, and I explained to them that this is for you. This box is what you need because of how they work in the hip hop world. And we're in the hip hop trap world, but even in all forms of genre, mm-hmm. It makes you feel comfortable where you're at. It makes you feel confident in the tones that you're going to put out. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to add that in there.
No, appreciate that. So I'll say if anyone joined in, you're right, when we went live at the top, there was some music playing. That was actually a remix I've been working on, and it was the first time I actually got to track something. So all the synths that you hear, if you heard it, that was all tracked with Carbon. I
was going to ask. It was very impressive.
So the
808 sounds in there. Very good.
Yeah, that was a real 808, by the way, which is sitting right back there. But yeah, I mean, genre, regardless of genre. So Sam, you're working in a lot of different, rock and punk and some really great aggressive, and also very dynamic types of music. Genre, hip hop, R&B, pop, gospel, electronic music. Regardless of whatever you're using, I mean, Carbon, there's something there for everybody. So. Thank you guys for that. We're going to jump into the Q&A. So have you guys hang out and help us answer any of these. I am going to ask if Gil, Jeff, Dave, if you guys want to jump in, and help answer some of these. So I'm just going to go down the list. We've got quite a number of things here to go through. So I'll just jump right into it. So I'll kick it off with Brandon Brunsel from our Facebook Pro Tools group. Hi guys, wherever you might be out there. Hope everyone's good. So you asked the question about why we chose AVB versus Dante for this unit. I hope I answered it well enough, but I don't know if Gil or anybody else is there anything else you wanted to add regarding AVB and why we chose it?
Yeah, I'll chime in on that a little bit. Greg, you did explain a lot of that. We have a very long history with AVB on our live sound side. It really helps us to divide the actual driver up to be able to utilize things good in Pro Tools versus what we can do with other DAWs and use that at the same time. And along those same lines, because it is deeply integrated with the OS, we can really get in there and fine tune things to make sure that performance, especially when we get into that DSP mode, when you're wanting to get into that sub 1 millisecond latency for tracking and everything, it really helps us kind of fine tune that and make sure that both of those engines that are running side by side, because that's exactly what's going on. You have your native engine that's running most of your mix, and then you have your tracks that are in recorded input on that DSP mixer, and all of that has to stay in alignment. And AVB, being able to run the interface off of AVB really helps us to be able to, on a low level, to make sure we have all that under control.
So Gil, on that note, I'm just going to jump over a couple of questions here. We'll run back, but this just on the same kind of thread. Windows, AVB and Windows. So David Delahaye was asking if AVB works in Windows. It's kind of a devil's advocate question. Obviously, we have a mix of PC and Mac users in the room. So I'll just kind of say that right now, Carbon is not currently qualified for Windows yet. And I'll just, anything you want to expand on there, Gil, specifically?
Yeah, AVB is deeply entrenched in the Apple OS. Has been for a long time. Apple's been a big proponent of that. Windows is not so much, and we definitely know that there's a lot of Windows users out there who would love to use Carbon. Something we're looking into, but it's going to take us a little time to figure out the best ways. Once again, we have to be able to get into that on a very low level to be able to control the driver, to be able to utilize that hybrid engine. And so it's definitely something we're working on. Don't have a timeline right now, but we are working towards a Windows solution.
Cool. Thank you, Gil. And a question that came in from LinkedIn, is there latency in Carbon? If yes, how much? Thank you. So for that LinkedIn user, so we kind of mentioned a little bit, utilizing the hybrid engine, the DSP portion of Carbon, in Pro Tools allows very low latency. So we kind of say, on its own, it's just kind of sub 1 millisecond latency. Now, of course, as you're adding plugins, every plugin has a different amount of inherent latency built in, whether it's native or DSP. So I'll simply say that it's extremely low latency when utilizing the DSP hybrid engine. And again, I'll turn it over to Gil if you wanted to say anything on a more technical level, or even Sam or Jean-Marie if you wanted to add anything.
As far as latency goes with it, it's definitely it's going to be like a lot of host-based interfaces when you're actually in just using the native host engine. But that's one of the reasons why we designed Carbon that way with the hybrid engine, with the DSP, is you really want to utilize the host mixer and all the DSP you can get from the host computer overall, but it's where you really have to have that super low latency is when you're recording and when you're tracking. And that's the idea behind Carbon and having those DSPs there. When you go into input or record, as long as you're using DSP, AX DSP plugins on that channel or anything that is related to that in the stream, as you go through subgroups or whatever, it will be a very, very low latent path, very much like what we have when you're using an all DSP system like our HDX system. So this is kind of our first foray into this, and really be able to truly utilize both types of systems together as one for their best of, kind of the best of how they utilize their in whatever situation you might be in. So that as far as latency goes, that's why we have the DSP there, is for when you really need it when you're recording. That's what the DSP is for.
Thank you, Gil. And I think you actually helped answer another question that came in from Onyx Rivera, asking, how we manage working with DSP and not, native non-DSP plugins. So I think that answered that. Onyx Rivera, I hope that answered it for you. If not, let us know. We can try and jump in. We've got about 6 minutes left. If you've got a few more questions I want to get to. This next question is specifically for Sam and Jean-Marie. So, and this is from, where am I in line here? Here we go. From Dennis Tui, and please forgive me if I mispronounced your name. Dennis is asking, are there any workflow or audio issues either of you or both of you were having that Carbon solved within the first few uses, whether it was in beta or out of the gate? Anything specific, that kind of like Carbon kind of solved? I mean, Jean-Marie, you kind of said that it just made things a lot more efficient, and I think you both kind of said that, but anything in particular as far as workflow that just made it that worked out for you immediately?
I just think the initial tone for me it was the tone that got me, and to get to the finish line a lot easier from in your ear canal, like approaching the vocal was a total different experience for me, because I'm always, you and Sam will probably jump in on this one as well. There's always that annoying frequency that you have to take out. That annoying frequency I left in because it actually added something. I said, wow, I usually take that out. And then dealing with Carbon on that level made me reapproach basically what happened. I had to redo the mixes, and so it's like from a standpoint as a mixer, it enabled me to really carve in or gouge out a lot of stuff that it was easier for me. It was a lot easier for me, and I'm not blowing smoke. I've been saying this for a minute, and the clientele speaks for itself. Goes, yo, what did you do to the mix? Why does it sound different now? I said, was it good or bad? Because I'm checking out a new box. That goes, this dude, it sounds amazing. We were doing something recently with Robin's producer named Pro J. It was all live, and obviously I had to take it from Pro Tools and go into Cubase, because that's where they live in, right? So I'm trying to get these rough mixes, and it was easy. You can hear different, it was the transparency. It made him happy. It made me happy that you can hear that the box is doing what it's supposed to do. It's not giving me a facade. It actually goes into each DAW relatively the same. Sure. Each DAW has a different characteristics somewhat, but we get to the finish line, and it works really, really well. And it's the simplicity and the flexibility.
That's a big deal. Yeah. Sam, anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I kind of have like a specific kind of like workflow in terms of when I start my productions, I start with DI guitars. And, DIs are really important in terms of I have my own specific Avalon DI that I use in my room here. And I'm really, particular about, I've done a bunch of null testing and making sure that like when, I'm recording at optimum levels and that everything is fine. So usually I take that DI and I just take it next door and plug it line in. But immediately when I got the Carbon, I was like, well, let me just plug mine in on this Carbon and try this out. And it was actually a fantastic DI. It sounds amazing. I did basic null testing and making sure that my levels were the same on both, and tried and ran through both of them, and they would null cancel, and it sounded great. It's an amazingly perfect DI. And on top of that, the microphone preamps sound fantastic. Like I've always kind of desired being like, oh, I need to get, like an 8-channel, Neve, or I got to fill up this lunchbox here and make sure that I got 8 like really sick channels of preamps going inside of that room. And I honestly don't even really think or care about that anymore, because what's cool is that it just sounds really good. Like I just plug it into it, sounds great. And and what I think is really cool too is like, I have a few assistants who will go in there and like do some overdubs on their projects and stuff. And each time they've used the Carbon, they've said they really like the Carbon. and how easy it was. Like you can easily just launch it, start the computer, launch Pro Tools, assign your inputs, and turn up the volume on the speakers there, and everything's going. Like it's a complete turnkey solution, and it's an inspiring piece, and it immediately like made my workflow easier inside of that room.
Love that. Guys, thank you so much. So we are just almost about out of time. I'm going to just go through two more quick questions really quick. I know Trent Johnson had asked what the highest recordable bit depth when tracking. Gil had answered it's 32-bit, 192K sample rate. I thought that was kind of important to mention to everybody else. And then Marco Bernardo was asking when the Avid control app will work with the monitoring and cue headphone section of Carbon. So we are working on that. Don't have a specific date on when we'll be able to have Yukon with Carbon, but watch this space. Keep checking back, and hopefully we'll be able to announce something relatively soon. But it is something it's a request, and something we'd like to definitely do. So let's see what else. I think that pretty much covers it for most of the questions. Guys, I want to say thank you first again to Sam, Jean-Marie. Thank you guys so very much for being here. Really appreciate it. You guys are absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to be able to travel back to California and give you guys a big old hug. So from on behalf of myself and everybody here at Avid, thank you so very much. To all of our viewers, whether you're here live or if you happen to be watching this on demand at some later time, thank you all so very much for joining us. If you do want to check out any of the previous audio community plugins, we have kind of a playlist. You can see it right here on my screen, Avid on our Avid blog site, avidblogs.com/audio-community-plugin. If you want to check those out, of course, we'll post this one there as well in the next couple of days. Again, if you have the opportunity to go check out Carbon, if you're interested, please go check it out. We promise you won't be disappointed. Well, actually, I can't promise anything. Anything could happen, but it's amazing. We're very proud of it. Again, Sam, Jean-Marie, thank you. To the rest of the team who joined us all across the globe on all of our different social platforms. Thank you guys so very much. We will see you next time. Everyone stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.